Watch the video to the end to find out the current and breaking news about the Russian war in Ukraine. In September, Spain provided 75 large-caliber munitions to help Ukraine. The Air Force transport aircraft of the Spanish Armed Forces made a total of 5 flights to deliver this munition to Ukraine. As a result of subsequent developments, Spain actively participated in the process of training the Ukrainian military combat on its territory. Spain has doubled its aid to Ukraine for the war on Ukraine and Russia. Spain has decided to provide military material assistance to Ukraine. The trainer, armored vehicles, anti-missile, and trainer provided assistance. According to a statement by the Spanish Ministry of Defense, NATO announced that it has entered into a joint work with the EU and the Ukraine Support Contact Group and that this coordination will continue. According to the statement made by Spain, it was announced that various military supplies, medical supplies, and educational support will be provided to Ukraine and that these aids will continue continuously. The government has made statements that it has been on the side of the struggle of the Ukrainian people since the beginning of the war and that the necessary support will be provided. It was announced by Spain that it would stand by the people defending their freedom against the invasion of Russia and that the necessary material support would be provided. In September, Spain announced that it would provide new assistance to Ukraine. The aid package, which will be realized in September, will include 2.5 million euros of diesel fuel, TOA APC M113 vehicles that are available, an anti-aircraft defense battery that serves to defend against aircraft and missiles, as well as military assistance. In October, the aid also includes 30,000 uniforms and 15,600 jackets specially designed for cold weather. It is estimated that many of the aids that are not included in the official documents will be included in this ammunition. Spain, which is on the side of the people who are resisting for their freedom in the face of Russia's invasion, is one of the most generous countries in terms of assistance to Ukraine. Spain, which continues to provide assistance with special aircraft both for the Ukrainian military and for the Ukrainian people, is also involved in organizing different aid campaigns. The Spanish government has provided residence and work permits to 86,000 Ukrainian citizens within 70 days. The Spanish government, which is trying to help people who have fled the war with Russia and taken refuge in Spain, is launching a mobilization for these people. People who fled the persecution of the war and took refuge in Spain get the chance to live and work on these lands. In the statements made by the Spanish Ministry of Social Security and Migration, it was stated that 130,000 people fleeing the long-running Russia-Ukraine war entered Spain. It was announced that 40% of Ukrainians entering the country are under the age of 18, and 86,000 of these people have been granted a temporary work and residence permit. It was announced that people fleeing the Ukrainian-Russian war were taken to housing facilities, and those who had a chance to work among these people decamped to various cities. Ukrainian citizens take positions in different cities to work in Spain. These cities include Madrid, Alabama de Canty, Barcelona, and Malaga. The diligence of Ukrainian citizens who fled the war and took refuge in Spain attracts attention. First, there are reports that Ukrainian citizens who were taken to facilities in various cities went to other cities to work for short periods of time. Ukrainians who have been granted a work permit by the Spanish government have opportunities to work in various cities. It is reported that 60% of Ukrainian citizens taking part in social facilities have higher education, 26% have graduated from high school. It is known that in social housing facilities there are a large number of Ukrainians who have such professions as lawyers, doctors, teachers, and the like. It was announced that various companies located in Spain also provide employment to these people. A large number of companies have engaged in the recruitment of workers to suitable positions with the aim of providing employment for Ukrainian citizens. The diligence of Ukrainian people who started working in these positions also began to be noted by the company owners. It is mentioned in the reports that by this time more than 500 companies have created jobs for Ukrainian citizens. Spain, which offers both a chance to live and work to people fleeing war, continues to work on this situation with importance and calls for the necessary assistance for the Ukrainian people. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has been making statements that they have been on the side of Ukraine since the Ukrainian-Russian war began. Sanchez, who also continues his talks with the Ukrainian Prime Minister, says that the aid will continue and that Spain is on the side of Ukraine. Both Spain's military aid and social assistance continue to increase. Spain is using a large number of aircraft and ships for the purpose of assistance to Ukraine. The number of aids provided so far is quite large. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez announced that 40 trucks of ammunition, 30 of which are large, have been delivered to Ukraine by ship so far. Explaining that the ammunition used in the aid is close to 200 tons of military supplies, the Prime Minister announced that these aids were made with the Spanish military ship named Isabel. The ship is on its way to Poland, and from there it is delivered to the Ukrainian military. The statements made by the Spanish Prime Minister make it clear that Spain and the world are on Ukraine's side and that Ukraine is not alone. Expressing that the Ukrainian people who support peaceful movements and are fighting for their freedom are not alone, the Prime Minister announced that Europe will stand by Ukraine in this unjust war. The Spanish Prime Minister has announced that Russian President Vladimir Putin is responsible for this murderous war. Pedro Sanchez has announced that he will make every effort to put Vladimir Putin on trial. Acting together with Denmark, Spain announced that Denmark would also increase aid and take Ukraine's side in the war. Spain continues to side with Ukraine in the long-running war. 21. At the end of the century, the news continues to come to the heat in the Russian-Ukraine war, which developed and flared up at a great pace. No matter how angry he is on both sides in this war that is still growing, he is trying to show this anger on the field. No matter how much the way to win in the ongoing war is thought to depend on plans and operations, the main way is developing technology. If we compare with Russia, Ukraine, which has completed this technological development, is also coming in the name of success and victories decisively. 30 of Ukraine. The separate mechanized brigade demonstrated its capabilities against unmanned aerial vehicles by shooting down the Russian unmanned aerial vehicle with a Stupa rifle. Before this action, the soldiers demonstrated the strength of their mechanized troops, defeating the Russians with their combat skills with unmanned aerial vehicles. Prince Konstanty Ostrogsky gave his name to this military unit. Every day, its drones fly dozens of combat missions. This can be seen in a video in which a Ukrainian drone observes Russian soldiers. A passenger attempted to strangle the drone with Stupa's portable anti-drone system while the device's operator remained connected. He continued to transfer it to Ukraine's drone operator, as a result of which explosives, firearms, and knives were used against the Russians. The Lokatsianaya Masterskaya anti-drone system was developed by the Russian company. It uses special electronics to block navigation channels and radio control for commercial drones. The system was first introduced by the company itself at the Army 2017 conference. According to the developers, the drone needs to land or return to the launch point without receiving the necessary data or commands. The input is set to the frequencies of 2.4 GHz and 5.8 GHz, which are used in radio communications and drones. The radio radiation is 15 degrees wide and can affect targets at distances up to 500 m. The first portable electronic warfare systems July 2022 Russian and occupation forces in Donbass. According to the developers, the drone was supposed to land or return to the launch point without receiving the necessary data or orders. The U.S. Department of Defense, Pentagon, announced that they are conducting on-site inspections in the country to check whether weapons supplied to Ukraine are being used in the field. Following the State Department, the Pentagon is taking steps amid growing concerns and criticism that more than $18 billion in U.S. arms and ammunition supplies to Ukraine could fall into the wrong hands in the country. A senior defense official, who briefed a group of journalists on the situation in Ukraine but did not want to be named, said they supported the Arms Control Action Plan that the State Department presented to Ukraine last week. Competent in a war zone, and they are aware of the risks of supplying weapons to transparency and accountability is critical, and the use of weapons of Ukraine at the scene of the admittance and transfer of these weapons provided a reliable indication, said they hadn't seen in the hands of others in any way. The official noted that despite the deteriorating security situation in the country, the United States and Ukraine cooperate in the procedures in this area, noting that the Pentagon monitors these weapons and ammunition in 4 ways to transfer billions of dollars into the hands of illegal groups such as arms traffickers. They keep records of the weapons before handing them over to the Ukrainian army, then register the weapons at border logistics centers inside Ukraine and train Ukrainian military personnel to track them on the battlefield, the official said. In order to register the stockpiles of weapons in the country, on-site inspections have recently been resumed. He used these expressions. The official, who did not share details about the place and time of the inspections, expressed that they are working with allies and partners to protect Ukraine's borders and build law enforcement capacity to prevent weapons from being taken out of Ukraine. Responding to the questions at the briefing, a senior military official, assessing the course of the war, noted that Russia's missile strikes were targeting Ukraine's critical infrastructure, such as electrical networks. Responding to a question about the extent of the impact of the attacks on Ukrainian infrastructures, the military official said that he could not give any comprehensive details, but they assessed the damage as quite extensive.